And then when the script comes back and you have done everything that they have asked and you were very clear on that call about walking it through, it's not your fault.
Totally.
And that...
I mean, don't get me wrong. They'll make it your fault, but...
Well... I did have an idea as to a topic that we could talk about.
Oh, go on then. What is it?
And it's very relevant to what we are dealing with in our own additional parts of our career right now. And that is...
I know what you're going to say. What do you do when your writing partner is an asshole?
Oh... I need like 3 hours and it's a live audience.
Can't get through it in an hour.
No, you know, I was thinking it'd be good to talk about notes and not the creative side of notes, because that's a whole other thing about, you know, creatively what you want to do with your script, although that is part of it, but also kind of the business side of notes and what it means to be a professional screenwriter and to be a good note taker. And it's an interesting topic because we have experienced recently in our personal career different ranges of notes, and notes that were huge and notes that have been very challenging. And you know, there was a time early in our career where we got, I think, one of the best compliments we've ever had from a very, very high level executive who said, great thing about you guys is that you're not precious and you know how to rewrite yourselves. And so I think it's a really good thing to talk about for you know, for new writers, and for, you know, writers who've been doing this a long time. I think we get to a point where the kind of, I don't know if it's the jadedness of the business, but the the consistency of people telling you what to do with your creative ideas.
Yeah.
You forget about those days early on when we are new and just want to please everyone.
Yeah, totally.
And
well, you know, it's one of those things that's said, you know, if you don't want to ever take notes on something you've written, don't become a screenwriter.
Right.
Become a novelist who only self-publishes.
Yes.
You know, and doesn't take feedback from anyone ever.
Right.
Because in all aspects.
Write a journal.
Write a journal, exactly. Keep a diary.
Or a blog.
Yes.
Nowadays, write a blog.
Totally. I have notes on your journal. I read your journal last night. What? I have notes. But, you know, it's true. You are, I mean, I think especially when it comes to screenwriting, you are going to be taking notes on your project just all of the time. All of the time. All of the time. You just are.
So
you know?
When do you think, I mean, this is, to me, the biggest question, and I'm talking about once you're working with a producer, but
yes, but even before that, potentially, you might get notes from your management.
I was just going to say, it could be that. It could be your agent that gives you notes. It could be your management that gives you notes. It could be
once you've written something, at some point you're going to get notes.
Yeah, I mean, I used to say
to someone else.
You know, I say, and I still believe that the moment you hit send on that first email where you send your draft out into the world, it no longer is just yours.
Yeah, totally.
And that's a really, really hard thing to deal with as an artist.
Yeah.
But there is a business side, and we've talked about this the other day, the art versus commerce. This was your topic the other day, and I think that this is a huge part of that. Yeah. You know, this business being very much a relationship business, this being about this industry of Hollywood being about people consistently working with people that they like working with. And so there's, you know, some people get angry about the nepotism that exists in Hollywood. And, you know, there is a a certain amount that I agree with. If people really don't deserve, I mean, nepotism technically is when someone gets a job that they really aren't qualified for, but they get it through their connections, their family, their friends, or something like that. But there is a level, I think, of people who want to work with writers who are easy to work with. And I think that the longer you do it, almost the hard. I mean, some people start right off the bat and they're defensive, and these writers very quickly. It's very clear right away. You go, oh, okay, this person's not going to want to take any of our notes, or this person really doesn't care what anybody else has to say. And I will say, if you're working in the studio system, the odds are that will lead to a very quick firing.
Yes, it will.
Doesn't mean you won't sell things in the future. It just means you won't be on your project.
You might be a machine at selling great spec scripts. But it's even when you sell a spec script, a studio is going to want to put their stamp on it. They're going to want to develop it in some way. You are always going to have notes.
And I think the biggest challenge is, how do you take notes and be that person who is easy and likable to work with, that everyone wants to hire again or do another project again because they go, man, that was so easy. They did exactly what I wanted.
Totally.
And yet also stay in your space of where you want your project to be. Still be passionate about the script that you're writing. And sometimes that can be really, really difficult.
It can be hard. I want to talk about 3 things as part of this topic. The first I want to talk about is understanding the concept of the note beneath the note. The second I want to talk about is something that you talked about with another writer friend of yours, which is when you get a bad note that they haven't thought through, that is going to massively pull threads of your script and destroy it. How do you deal with that then? And also, a great thing that we heard, which is, even if you don't like the note, how can you identify the one thing that's going to make them feel good and heard when they give that note? So what was the first thing I said? Note beneath the note.
The note beneath the note.
So this phrase you may hear a lot. And fundamentally, it might be you get a note that you go, what? That's a really random note. I'll use an example from our script 40 Thieves, and it's a note that we joke about.
Okay. I was going to say, let's not use any examples from scripts that we currently are working on. Let's use a not actually true example.
Okay, all right then. So there was a script years ago. I think we've talked about this. It was a TV project we were developing, and the note we got was, can we give this person can we give this person a dead daughter? We call them dead daughter notes when we get them. A dead daughter, to give him a real motivation for why he's going on his quest. And we were just like, oh God, what is this note about this dead daughter? We constructed this whole thing that just ultimately didn't work. But what was the note beneath the note? It was, again, if I'd be looking at it in hindsight, would be, we need something to emotionally root this character's desire. May have been a way that we could have gone. That's the note beneath the note. So when you go away and you go, and what you can do is you can go, you know what? We tried it. It wasn't working that way. But what we did hear you wanted was this. So we've done that in this way. And that way you're taking the note, but not the literal note.
I will say, while I think you're 100% right in the kind of, that's the way to artistically approach it, there are executives and producers who don't want you to take the note beneath the note. They just want you to do the note. So the dead daughter was wanted. Actually, they wanted the dead daughter.
Yeah.
We tried to,
and we did,
say, we're not sure if this works. We know that you want an emotional core. Is there a way that we can get around it? And ultimately, no, they wanted this.
They wanted the dead daughter.
Only to then realize that it didn't work after they read it. And the problem is that a lot of times, and well, I mean, it's only a problem to a certain degree. God, my hair was bad. I shouldn't take my hat off again. The problem is that executives and producers genuinely are trying to do what's best for the project. They have the same goal as us. They want to get the movie made, right? Or the TV show made. That is their goal. No one is trying to sabotage your script. And we have to remember that at all times. However, they have not sat with it as long as you have.
They're not necessarily storytellers.
And they're not necessarily, but they do believe that they are. And you have to take you have to realize that people don't get into this business who don't want to tell stories in some way. You know, most of your executives or your producers were aspiring writers or aspiring or aspiring actors or whatever. You know, they transitioned into being executives because they love the dream of Hollywood and they love what it is,
and they love movies and TV shows.
Want to make TV shows. So and everybody has an opinion. I mean, God, go on Reddit or Twitter or wherever, look about opinions on people's movies or TV shows. Everyone has an opinion. The difficult thing is when that opinion is coming from the person that has hired you and is paying you. Or when that opinion is coming from a producer that you have committed to working with, who is a relationship that you really, really want to foster and salvage and don't want to offend in any way. And so while the note beneath the note is important, it's very difficult to straddle the, I am giving you what you want. I am hearing you and I am doing, it's not that I don't like your idea, because here's what you always hear. This is a bad idea. Take it or leave it. They're lying. Like, let's be clear. This is a bad idea. Take it or leave it isn't true. It's this is my idea.
This is my idea. And I'm nervous about sharing it with you. So I'm going to package it up in, don't worry, this is a bad idea. But
I'm a little insecure, so I'm not, I don't, but what I really want to see is my idea on the page.
Now that's different from sometimes someone will say, it's not this, but bleh.
Right.
It might just be like, I know this isn't right, but it's something like, meh. And I feel like we do that a lot with each other.
And talking it through, I think the best thing to do, and this will lead into that version of what you're talking about here, right? Your best chance at somehow recovering from a note that you don't agree with but seems like it is really what they want is to try and talk it through on that call. And sometimes this can be hard because these calls can be short, but if you need more time, my suggestion at this point in time, knowing what I know now, would be to say, hey guys, you know, I know we ran out of time, but we really like this and we want to talk through it more. Can we set another call? Because when you leave your note session, you have marching orders and you need to deliver on those marching orders to your employer. But if you can identify that the note isn't really what they want, but that there is a note beneath the note, there's a way to approach that. So for example, our note of you get a dead daughter, you could say at that point, gosh, you know, that's really interesting. Let's talk that through, though. Let's see how would that affect the overall thing, and engage the person that's giving you the note to go, because if we give that person a dead daughter, then that is really what they're going for. And does that? Do you think that? And get them as part of the conversation. Do you think that takes away from his emotional core?
Now, in that particular sense, where we were at that. We didn't have a script yet.
No, it was in the outline.
It was in development. But you may have written the script. You may be, you know, first draft, you know, your second draft, whatever. And someone goes, I think this thing should happen in Act 3 or whatever. Or one thing. They don't see the threads that they're going to pull.
Right.
And we literally had it not that long ago. We've had several projects recently. And
it happens almost on
it happens all the time. And what we've learned, and this was something that Ben got through talking to a screenwriter friend of his, was doing exactly that. You can instantly see how it breaks it. You know instantly. You're like, oh yeah, that's going to really fuck things up.
But don't just say no.
But don't just say no. And don't say, but if we do that, it breaks it. Talk it through. You say, okay, so let's talk this through. If that happens, that's going to change this, then that, then this, then that, then that. That set piece isn't going to happen in quite the same way. We're going to have to entirely rethink that. And then the motivation, and of course, it'll be different in every situation.
Yeah, and I think that you can say, so is that what you're looking for?
Totally. Genuinely.
Asking, so now that we've walked this through, is that the version you're looking for? And put them on the hot seat.
Yes.
Because then if they say yes, then you go, okay, so just to be clear, I'm going to walk this through. You want us to put a dead daughter in and change everything to fit around the dead daughter. And then when the script comes back and you have done everything that they have asked and you were very clear on that call about walking it through, it's not your fault.
Totally.
And that...
don't get me wrong. They'll make it your fault, but...
but there is an acknowledgement amongst... Because there's not just two people on this phone call.
Of course.
And there is an acknowledgement amongst the team that all know that you tried to walk that through and be as user-friendly as possible. And then, ultimately, you did what they wanted.
Sure. And then the other version is they go, oh, yeah, no, you're right, that doesn't work.
That's what you're hoping for.
And that's what you're hoping for.
Yeah.
You know, you're right, that doesn't work. But which then might lead them to go and identify the note beneath the note.
And hopefully they give you the idea that works.
Totally.
That your end goal with a bad note is to get that person to give you a good version of that note. If you can find a way to make them go, oh, you know what? That doesn't work. But instead of a dead daughter, what if we gave him a dead wife? And you go, you know what? And the funny thing is, half the time you might have said that in a previous meeting.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, completely.
Remember you, and you go, you know what? I really like this about the dead wife. That actually doesn't change any of what we have, but it does give him the motivation. And all of a sudden, it's they're giving you their note, and you're delivering their note. Because at the end of the day, and unfortunately, although everything is a learning experience, we have been in a situation where we really disagreed with some notes. And they were, if I could go back and change this experience, I would. These notes were from the head of the studio. And we, as the creatives that we are like, we see that these notes don't work. We know instantly that these notes don't work. And we think that we're, being friendly, nice guys, and we're having a creative conversation here. And it's what's called a creative meeting, which is really another word for a notes meeting. And so we went away and we were like, well, what's the note beneath the notes? How can we kind of do what they want, but not fully do what they want? What is the way to kind of do this? And you come back, and a lot of times with these kind of bigger jobs, they want you to come back after they've given you the notes. And before you actually write, they'd like to hear how you're going to address their notes. And so we go in and we go, well, what we heard was this. And so instead of doing the version that you said, what we'd like to do is this version over here. And the response was, so you're not going to do the notes. And that was a very awkward Zoom.
It was. And I think because in that particular example, every single note that they had, we had a version that wasn't their version.
Yeah.
Every single time. So at the end of it, we were kind of coming back with literally, no, we're not going to do your notes.
and it wasn't our intention. Look, like the reality
it wasn't our intention.
We didn't even realize how difficult we were being.
We didn't realize. I completely agree.
That's the learning experience of it all. And that's what we were hoping to, I guess, share with everyone here is, writing a screenplay is a collaborative process. And there has to be an acceptance that it's not going to all end up your ideas. And the goal, once it's sold, is to try and make everyone else's ideas fit really well within your puzzle. And that means listening to the note. Maybe it means trying the note and delivering a draft where you've done the note, but acknowledging that you don't think it works. We haven't actually done that.
I know. It can go into the very last thing, which is when you are hearing these notes, even if you fucking hate this note, how can you make the person giving the note feel heard? And it's a phrase that we've now started using, which is, what I like about that idea is, and it doesn't mean you have to go away and do everything, but it just, and it can be one thing. What I like about the dead daughter is it gives us something, an emotional idea, or what I like about that is that gives us a connection to the brother in a way that doesn't exist in the current
and
script.
It does give you the opportunity to then bring in your own idea, because you're acknowledging that something they've contributed is good, and
makes
now
them
you're
feel good.
Add on to it in a collaborative way. What I like about the dead daughter is it gives this emotional connection that we're missing. What if it was the wife? And then you're not telling them their idea is wrong. It is still coming from you, which they may push back, but at least you're entering into a dialogue that is positive. I mean, look, the important thing about all of this is to be approaching it also from a genuine standpoint. People can sniff out someone who is just, bullshitting and going, oh yeah, this is great, this is great, this is great. I mean, nobody we can sniff it out when a producer is like not giving us any notes and saying everything's great, and we're like, yeah, no, there's something wrong here. And so when you do say things like what I like about that, or when you do go in and say, let's talk this through, go approach it from a genuine desire of collaboration. Now, there's one last thing that I want to talk about with the idea of notes, and that is when you are working and not getting paid, and you're given notes that are rather large, and take the movie or the TV show in a direction that you weren't thinking of before, but you've been developing this project with a producer, so you want to take. I mean, this is a collaboration. You haven't written necessarily. If you did write the spec, there's a reason that you've gone and attached this producer in the first place.
Yes.
And if you haven't written the spec yet and you're developing this along, there's a reason that you've chosen this producer as your partner. And in either case, you are partners in this, and so that producer needs to be heard. And at the same time, they're not paying you. And so the question is, when is the right time to say no? And when is at what point do you go, maybe we're not wanting the same thing? And is that ever a good idea? Because again, going back to the relationship aspect of this business, this is about working with people over and over and over again. You want those connections, you want those relationships, you want to work with people you like, and if you find someone that you really think is great, you want to work with them again. And when you tell someone no, they don't want to work with you
again. It's interesting though, isn't it? Because we are both on the giving and receiving end of this at the moment. We are producing movies. We have notes for a screenwriter on our movie, on the movie that they've written on spec. And it's interesting to be on the other side of it, kind of going, well, here's what works, here's what we think can be improved, and that person going, I don't want to do a crazy nuts rewrite on this, but I can edge it 10%, 15%, 20% towards what you think it is, and we understand that, and yet also likewise, yesterday we got something through and we were like, do we want to continue to do work on this script for essentially free at the moment? And it's again, it just depends each and every single time. And I don't think you can have a blanket statement which is like, I will never do unpaid notes for a producer. I mean, once you've been hired, there are legal.
Well, it's not even about unpaid notes, right? Like, if you're going to get into bed with a producer, you better be ready to do notes. Totally. There's no such thing as a team sport where the one of the team members doesn't get at least some say, right?
Yeah, sure.
Like, even if it's just a small polish, I think you have to be prepared that people like to have their creative ideas heard. Again, that's why we all got into this, right? And part of it is it does come down to the relationship, the project, and how much you still love and how much you are passionate about that project. But I feel like, especially in the early days, and you know what, to be frank, like, we're what, 8.5, almost 9 years in. Even at this stage, I think you have to at least try.
Yeah.
If someone who you respect enough to have attached them to your project and to have worked with them, sometimes on multiple things.
Yeah.
You have to respect that they know what they're doing to a certain degree,
indeed.
that they have a right to their opinion, and that it's not just your script anymore.
Yeah, totally.
That it is partially theirs. If they're going to produce it, it's going to be probably more their movie than your movie by the end.
Indeed. Siri, my wife, has said in the comments, do you want to be right or have a good script at the end? I'd say, do you want to be right or do you want to be paid?
Yeah. Well, or do you want to be right or do you want to be, I mean, not, do you not want to work with that person?
I know, absolutely.
You know, I do think that, and it can be hard. I mean, we've been in a situation where we were getting notes from two very important sides of the equation, a director and a studio, and those notes were in conflict with each other.
They were.
And we wanted to work with both of them again. So we tried our very best to accommodate both, and as a result, we could accommodate neither.
And that's it. You go, you know, if you try and make everyone happy, you make no one happy. And
that was a situation where I don't know, still to this day, I don't know what the right answer is.
I don't know what the right answer is.
I would love to hear from another writer out there who's been in a similar situation.
Yeah, I know, right?
But I do think, you know, we have a few things right now that we love to various degrees, and they're all going to require notes. And at the end of the day, I think that all the producers that we're working with right now, because we're very picky about who we work with, are all people that we really genuinely like and want to continue to work with. They're all people that we've worked with for years now, on multiple projects, some of them paid even. And so as much as we don't want to do the notes, it's important to do them.
Yep, it is.
And that's what I'll say about notes.
That's all I got to say about that.